committee. Congressman, good to see you as always. Former Homeland Security Secretary Jeh Johnson testified before your committee today, and he said that the DNC rejected federal assistance offered by DHS and the FBI. Are you surprised by that?
Well, I'm actually disputing it somewhat because I spoke to Debbie Wasserman Schultz after the hearing, and she basically said that no one ever came to her. There was a lower level staffer who was contacted, and that was the extent of it. I think what we've learned from the testimony today is that we acted very late in the game. The first real meeting that Jeh Johnson has was in August, and to all of the states, and he didn't say anything more than there may be hackers out there you should be aware of. I mean, we knew it was Russia, or we were very certain that it was likely Russia, and even when he offered all the tools that the Department of Homeland Security had available, only 33 states took advantage of them. So 17 states were out there bare naked in terms of being potentially impacted by the Russian hack. There's a lot we have to do.
I just want to ask you, you say you want to dispute it, but Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was then chair of the DNC, according to what you just said that DHS and the FBI did reach out to the DNC. They just didn't reach out to her personally. That doesn't mean they didn't reach out to the DNC, though.
Well, they reached out to inform them, but in terms of the gravity of the issue, it was really never one that was elevated. I mean, you should go to the CEO of a company, and they probably do, or the head of IT. This was a lower level person.
Well, it sounds like incompetence at the DNC, but let's move on. Top intelligence officials have been testifying for months that there's no doubt Russia is going to continue this type of election interference. They're obviously doing it in Europe right now. What is the U.S. government doing to make sure that this does not happen again?
So, good question, and I think we don't have a good answer, because it was an act of war. It was, in fact, a cyber war attack. And, we would not just sit back under normal circumstances. Because everything is so decentralized, there's some benefits to that, but because it's so decentralized, there are at least one state that doesn't even have a paper trail. So we have different systems being operated in different counties throughout the country. And I think at the very least we've got to come up with some standardization in terms of what is, in fact, the most competent and most hack-proof systems that exist, and then provide the kinds of tools that will be helpful to local jurisdictions, because they will come back at us, and they'll come back with us in a vengeance. They've already done enough early work to be able to get into voter records. If they get into voter records, what's to say they can't get into voting tallies?
So just a minute ago, you were critical of the Obama administration for being late to act when it came to Russian hacking. I want to get your reaction to the exchange between the ranking Democrat on the committee, Adam Schiff, and Secretary Johnson about why it took so long for the Obama administration to comment on the Russian interference last year. Take a listen.
Why did we wait from July till October to make that statement?
There was an ongoing election, and many would criticize us for perhaps taking sides in the election. So that had to be carefully considered. One of the candidates, as you recall, was predicting that the election was going to be rigged in some way. And so we were concerned that by making the statement, we might, in and of itself, be challenging the integrity of the election process.
Do you think it's fair to say that if Democrats and the Obama administration had thought that Donald Trump could win, as opposed to how dismissive they were about his chances last year, that they might have actually taken a different action?
I can't answer that question, but I can say that by virtue of Donald Trump saying the election is rigged, that it had a chilling effect on the Department of Homeland Security and the administration in general from acting as swiftly as it should have. Whether it would have changed the election, I don't know. But I have a lot of questions. Early on, it was said some states were, in fact, infiltrated. As it turns out now, we're looking at 39 states. I don't think we know the full nature of the hack and the exfiltration that took place, much like with the Office of Personnel Management. The Chinese were in there for over a year, taking all of the data from all of the federal employees for a year before we got wind of it.
All right, Congresswoman Jackie Speier of California, thank you so much. Good to